The Crown Royale bragged no one beat the house. Tonight, a man in a worn coat walked in to prove them wrong.
You think you can last an hour against my house? I'll stake you 100 in chips. If you are still upright, I'll eat my words.
I've been hungry before. Let's see if your arrogance tastes better than it sounds.
Vincent snapped his fingers. A guard counted out 100 in chips. The hour began.
He's wearing a coat from Goodwill. Saddest 60 minutes of his life.
2 weeks. The Hope Community Center had 2 weeks before the bank took the doors. This wasn't about ego.
He walked onto the floor like a man who'd calculated every camera.
Miles, every camera on him. I want to see his face when he busts.
Mind if I sit? I've played a little.
The house didn't know it had invited a wolf. Leo Vance had a secret they'd never guess, and he was about to use it. Leo's worn elbow rested on the green felt. Across the table, Alex the dealer kept a practiced poker face. The cards began to speak.
Bets down, sir.
There it was. The dealer's left thumb twitched just before a strong hand showed. Biology doesn't lie.
Leo placed $10 in the circle. His 17 held. The dealer's thumb had already told him not to hit.
Guess I am not as rusty as I thought.
By the fourth hand, his 100 had become 200. A few slot players paused to watch. A pit boss whispered into his radio. High above the chandeliers, Vincent Caruso closed his cigar case and held his tablet tighter.
He's less than 100 up. Don't get excited, but send someone, just in case.
He's still laughing. Perfect. The longer he underestimates me, the bigger the storm.
Leo Vance hadn't shown them a fraction of his skill. The hour was young, and the real game was about to begin. Leo left the blackjack table, chips clinking in his coat. He slid into a poker seat, eyes already cataloging every face.
The man in the Armani blazer scratched his nose every time he bluffed. A nervous tick, as clear as a billboard.
On cue, the man raised heavy, and his finger brushed his nostril. Leo folded a strong hand without a second thought.
Too rich for my blood.
2 hands later, the same tell appeared. Leo called with a marginal hand. The bluffer's eyes went glassy when he saw he'd been read. The small crowd behind his chair began to murmur. A pit boss spoke into a radio.
He's not guessing. Every call. Get me the surveillance log now.
Already running, boss. No wires, no phone, no partner. He's clean.
Vincent's jaw tightened. On the screen, Leo raked another pot, his stack now a respectable pyramid. In 20 minutes, the street magician had multiplied his chips 5-fold. Vincent Caruso stopped smiling. Vincent Caruso closed his tablet and walked down to the poker table. His expensive shoes clicked on the marble.
You think I don't know card counting when I see it? Your luck is too consistent.
Count cards? I am a street performer. I make nickels from passers-by, but if you can prove it, please do.
I will prove it, and when I do, you'll be barred from every casino, from here to Vegas.
The crowd held its breath. Leo didn't flinch. He just fanned his fingers on the felt, a magician's gesture.
I've got nothing to hide. Check the tapes, check my sleeves. You'll find a man who reads people, not cards.
He turned to Miles, jaw tight, full review. Every second of today's footage. Now?
Yes, boss. Overlay analytics. If there's a pattern, we'll find it.
The security team locked in on their monitors. Leo just smiled and stacked his chips higher. Vincent retreated to his office. But the street magician's confidence had already burrowed under his skin. The digital clock above the bar blinked the hour. Leo hadn't busted. He hadn't even stumbled.
You are still here. And your stack is how?
Told you I'd be upright. Now about those words you said. You'd eat.
The bet was a joke, but I'll give you a real challenge. High limit room. Baccarat, usual minimum is 10,000.
I've got the chips. Let's see if your vault is as deep as your mouth.
Vincent's eye twitched. He'd walked into his own trap.
Fine. But if you lose, you are banned. I'll even let you keep the coat.
Banned. He still thinks this is about staying. It's about the center. The clock there is ticking louder.
They walked to the velvet rope of the high-limit room, a cathedral of silence and judgment. Leo stepped inside, and the heavy door whispered shut. The real con was about to begin. The roulette wheel spun under golden light. Leo watched the ivory ball dance, his eyes marking velocities like a physicist.
A slight warp in the track, 100,000th of an inch. The ball hesitated at 17 twice. That's not randomness.
No more bets, please.
Leo's chips settled on the exact numbers he'd projected. The ball dropped. The crowd exhaled in unison.
He's hit 3 times in 12 spins. Miles, scan him for every gadget known to man.
Already did. No magnets, no transmission, no vibrating device. He's just calling it, boss.
Then cut off his drinks. No more comped anything. Maybe thirst will rattle him.
12 days until the bank locks the center. 20 kids no longer have somewhere safe. Thirsty is nothing.
Vincent watched the monitor, teeth grinding. The street magician kept stacking chips as if the wheel was his instrument. By the time he left the roulette table, Leo's stack had swollen beyond anything the high-limit room had seen in a month. Leo glided to the baccarat table, letting the roulette winnings sit heavy in his pocket. Probability theories danced behind his eyes.
The banker edge is only 1.06%. With the right bet sequencing, I can erode it to nothing.
Place your bets, sir.
Leo's chips fell on the player spot 3 rounds in a row. The banker's hand broke each time.
Get the ringer on the phone. The man who broke the Monte Carlo game in '08. Tell him there's a payday.
Miles made the call. 20 minutes later, a sharp-suited man with dead eyes stepped into the high-limit room.
A predator. The kind who studies emotional micro-leakage. This won't be like reading tourists.
Meet your new opponent. He's agreed to a private game. Unless you'd rather cash out and run.
I came for a challenge. Name the stakes.
The velvet rope parted for the felt gladiators. The poker table was set and the whole house held its breath. The first hands were a dance of feints. Leo tested, folded, watched. The ringer gave nothing away.
A subconscious tap of the thumb. Twice before a big bet. That was his rhythm.
Leo threw away 3 mediocre hands. A patient fisherman. The ringer's confidence swelled.
Now, he'll raise with his good hand. Believing I am weak, the tap will come.
The ringer bet heavy, his thumb tapping twice. Leo shoved his entire stack forward without hesitation. The ringer's face twitched. He stared at the worn coat, the calm eyes. His hand hovered, then folded. Silence. Then the crowd erupted. Leo hadn't shown a single card. He'd bluffed a legend.
That was nothing. Pure luck. He can't keep this up.
Boss, every angle is clean. No signals, no partner. The guy just outplayed a professional.
Leo's stack now nearly touched the chandelier light. Vincent's whole vault was within reach. Leo drifted to the craps table, the dice calling to him like old friends. The crowd pressed closer, hungry for more miracles.
The dice had a pattern tonight. A microbevel on one corner. But the crowd's noise was a distraction. No, that would be suboptimal. The Nash equilibrium says fold.
In the security room, Miles lifted his earpiece. The transcript software had flagged 2 words. Nash equilibrium.
Boss, he just said Nash equilibrium. That's not street performer talk.
Nash equilibrium. Game theory. This man is no street magician. He's been trained. Pull his file. Every school, every job, every parking ticket. I want to know who taught him that.
Sloppy. The hunger and fatigue made me loose. They'll dig now.
Leo Vance felt the net tightening but didn't blink. The deadline was in 10 days, and there was no stopping now. The casino's scrutiny shifted from his hands to his history. The real hunt was about to begin. Vincent couldn't stand the smirk. He pushed through the velvet rope, voice cutting the air.
You are not a street magician. You are some kind of probability freak. I am calling it unfair mental advantage.
Unfair mental advantage? You are afraid of a man who uses his brain? Prove it. I'll wait.
Miles, get me everything on him. I don't care if you have to wake up his kindergarten teacher.
10 days left. The center's roof leaks. The kids need music lessons. They can dig. I'm clean.
When I find your Ivy League paper trail, you'll be begging to return to the street.
Boss, the deeper check is running now. Education records, old associates.
Then hurry. I've got a vault to empty.
Vincent stormed back to his office, fingers twitching for a name, a date, anything to bury the man. The hunt for Leo Vance's past began, and the real game hadn't even started. By midnight, the file landed on Vincent's desk. Photo, name, and a past that rewrote everything.
Leo Vance, PhD candidate in game theory, top of his class, recruited by 3 casinos. He refused every offer.
The photo showed a younger man handing a resignation letter to his advisor. Leo had walked away from a golden future. He left the gates one afternoon and never looked back, choosing a worn coat over a rigged system.
He's not a magician. He's a mathematician who studied the game to break it. Bring me Vance, now.
A security guard escorted Leo to the private office. The door locked behind him.
I know about your PhD, Vance. Game theory. You are no street performer.
I never said I was just that. I am a man who refused to help casinos rig their games, so I left.
So you are here for revenge? To humiliate the industry that wanted you?
Leo's smirk held a deeper truth, but the reason he was really here remained locked inside his chest.
Given your advanced training, I am exercising the House right to refuse play. You are banned, effective now.
Section 17 of your charter. Players may exercise mental skill. Formal training isn't disallowed.
Miles, go through the regulations. Find me a clause against a player using academic game theory.
I've read it twice, boss. There's no restriction on education or mental processes. He's clean.
Then he can play, but I'll be damned if he takes another chip without intense scrutiny.
9 days now. Martha scrubs that floor on hope. I'll bear his scrutiny. The kids matter more. Watch all you want. I'll be at the baccarat table, multiplying what you think you can lose.
Don't get comfortable. One misstep and you'll be out on the street with your worn shoes.
Leo walked out of the office unchained. Vincent's rulebook was empty. He had no weapon but rage. The mathematician returned to the floor, untouched by the casino's finest gambit. The game was still his. Leo pushed past the velvet rope toward the heavy steel door marked Vault Room, House Reserve only.
Your own charter says any player with 500,000 in chips can request the vault game. I have more.
The vault table is invitation only. I decide who plays.
Section 12, paragraph 3. Any patron holding 500,000 may enter. Read it.
The crowd's silence turned to shouts. "Let him play," echoed off the chandeliers.
This is my house. I'll decide who enters the vault.
Then I call the Gaming Commission. The charter is public record.
Fine. Open the damn door. But if he loses, every chip stays.
The steel door sighed open, revealing a sanctum of green felt and golden light where the casino's own fortune lay. Vincent's hands shook. On the monitor, Leo stepped into the vault, the final reckoning mere moments away. Inside the vault, the private card table gleamed beneath a single chandelier, surrounded by locked glass shelves displaying towering stacks of $100 bills, the casino's entire high roller reserve. The dealer, Alex, shifted his weight, his fingers betraying a tremor as he handled the decks, his professional mask cracking.
The tremor. Fear or a designed tell. Either way, every micro-movement feeds the algorithm.
Place your bets, sir.
Leo placed a modest stack on the banker. The cards turned, and he lost by a single point, his expression unchanged. In the observation room, Vincent leaned forward, a thin smile cracking his stubble. Finally, the street rat is bleeding.
He's down 3%, boss. Very measured. No panic.
These small losses are data points. The real pattern will surface in the next 5 hands.
2 more hands passed with minor losses. Leo's chip tower shrank by a layer, but his posture never changed, as if the chips were gone, but the outcome already decided. The vault's fortune stood untouched, but the air thickened with the promise of a storm that would break soon. Leo saw the tell, a flicker of the dealer's index finger before a strong hand. The probability matrix snapped into perfect focus.
Martha's last payment is due tomorrow. This hand decides if the kids keep their roof.
Leo pushed every chip he had forward. The entire tower slid across the felt in a deliberate, silent avalanche.
Sir, that's the entire buy-in.
I know exactly how much it is. Deal the cards.
Stop the game. He can't bet everything on one hand.
The bet is placed, boss. House regulations forbid interfering once chips are forward.
Vincent's curses went mute. The steel door had closed, and the only sound left was the whisper of a deck being cut.
Martha's scrubbing that floor on hope. I didn't walk away from a rigged system to let a building fall.
The dealer's hand hovered over the deck, trembling. In that vault, every dollar of the house's fortune hung on the next turn of a card. The dealer turned the first card, then the second. Time collapsed into a single, crystalline moment as the symbols aligned.
Natural 9 to the player.
Leo had not moved. His hand rested on the felt, every muscle still, as if he had always known the outcome. The dealer's hands trembled, worse than before, placing the marker on the felt. The impossible streak had ended the house. In the observation room, Vincent Caruso's head dropped into his hands. The monitor showed a number that erased his quarterly reserve. The crowd outside, watching via the overhead screens, erupted. Champagne corks popped. Strangers hugged one another. His chip tower had not just grown. It now represented the declared value of the vault itself. Every glass shelf of cash matched in ceramic. The man in the worn coat smiled. A triumph that was silent and absolute. No wire, no device, no partner, only a mind. The telephone on Vincent's desk rang. Likely the board, likely a firing squad, but he couldn't lift his hand to answer. Leo Vance had walked into the Crown Royale with $100 stake. He had walked out with their whole vault, and the true reason was still held close to his chest.
I want that hand voided under subsection 4, dealer irregularity. Get the floor manager down there.
Floor manager ruled, boss. The dealer's tremor was documented before the hand. No card movement indicated foul play. The result stands.
Vincent's last card had been played. There was no loophole left.
I'd like to cash out now. All of it, please.
The chips were carted across the floor under armed guard, a silent procession of his victory. At the main cage, the count took 40 minutes. Every chip was verified, every denomination recorded. The cashier slid a single check across the steel counter, a sum that matched the vault's declared reserve.
The center is saved. Martha doesn't know yet, but this isn't my money. It's theirs.
Leo folded the check into his worn coat, past the stunned guards, past the velvet ropes. His smirk a statement no microphone could capture. Vincent Caruso could only watch from the monitor as the street magician walked out with what had once been his vault. He stepped into a wall of flashbulbs. The press had come, just as his anonymous tip intended.
Mr. Vance, did you really break the vault?
I'll make a statement. Give me a moment.
A portable podium was set, and Leo climbed up, the casino's neon sign flickering behind him like a fading taunt. Vincent stood at the balcony window, powerless, his empire streaming its own funeral on live television.
You all want to know why a street magician walked into this casino and left with everything they had.
The cameras zoomed in. The city held its breath. Leo Vance was about to speak words no one had anticipated.
I didn't come for the money, but you already know that. I came because someone had to prove.
He paused. The silence that followed was heavier than any jackpot. Leo's next words would write a headline no casino ever wanted to see. The game was bigger than money.
That the house doesn't always win. Every penny of their vault goes to the Hope Community Center, which was about to close its doors.
He pulled the check from his coat, the full sum, and held it high as if it were a winning lottery ticket for a neighborhood that had never won. Martha, who had scrubbed the center's floors on Hope, pushed through the press line, her face a map of disbelief and tears.
Leo, you told me you'd find a way. I thought you meant a fundraiser. Not this.
The kids need a roof and music lessons. This is the only gamble I ever needed to win.
Carla Reyes shouted over the noise. This is the biggest philanthropic single-game win in state history. The feed went viral. The headline wrote itself. Street magician donates casino vault to save community center. Vincent Caruso, still at his balcony, turned off the monitor. His casino's arrogance had just become the biggest charitable headline of the year.
27 children have a place to go tomorrow. You gave them that, Leo.
Leo Vance looked into the cameras, his smirk now carrying the weight of a promise fulfilled. The con was over. The truth was more powerful. Inside the Crown Royale, the board convened via video link. Vincent stood before them, his tie undone, no words left.
The board is demanding a full audit. They've labeled the vault loss as gross negligence.
The audit was a formality. By morning, Vincent Caruso would be stripped of his title. Across town, a convoy of trucks pulled up to the Hope Community Center, loaded with lumber and fresh paint. Martha stood with Leo inside, watching workers carry in supplies. The roof would be sealed by sundown.
I still can't believe it. The kids drew an art room last week. I told them to dream small.
Dreams are just unquantified probabilities. I gave them a hard number.
By the next afternoon, children painted murals while roofers hammered above. The walls echoed with laughter. The evening paper ran a photo of Leo and Martha. The headline, Street Magician Turns Casino Greed into Community Gold. Vincent Caruso walked out a side door, shoulders low. The street magician had taken more than money. He'd taken respect. A few days later, the same street corner where Leo once made nickels drew a different crowd. He wore a newer coat now, but the same smirk, and he flipped a card between his fingers like an old friend. A child asked if he was the one who saved the center. Leo just fanned the deck, a rainbow of paper possibilities.
He gave us more than money. He gave the children a reason to believe. The art room you paid for held its first show yesterday. 12 young painters, Leo, 12.
The hat at Leo's feet overflowed not with coins, but with handwritten thank you notes from the kids. He didn't count them. Probabilities had already told him this was the surest bet of his life. The street magician who walked out of a casino with their whole vault had won the only game that ever mattered. As the sun set behind him, Leo Vance fanned his cards one last time, a smile explaining everything. And somewhere in the city, a community center stayed open, its walls echoing with a laughter that no odds could measure. In the weeks that followed, the Hope Community Center transformed into a place of color and music. The new sign over the door read, Hope Community Center, forever open. Inside, they framed the newspaper headline that shamed a casino and saved a neighborhood.
My granddaughter painted a mural of a magician fanning cards. The kids call it the Miracle Wall.
And Leo, he returned to the street, not as a magician desperate for coins, but as the man who had beaten the unbeatable. His hat still sat at his feet, but now it collected more smiles than money. Passers-by would stop, not just to watch the trick, but to thank the man inside the worn coat. Leo's smirk never faded. It carried the knowledge that the greatest probability he'd ever calculated was a child's future. He had walked into the Crown Royale a street magician and walked out a legend. The house bragged no one beat them until he did. True magic isn't a card trick. It's choosing to use everything you have for someone else. Leo Vance made that choice with a full deck.